But there we go. So yes, today's introductory meeting is going over the Sepulveda Transit Corridor, which is one of the biggest projects that we're seeing in LA right now, and I would also argue across the US. It's really, really exciting, and we're gonna dig into it. The reason why we are going over this now is because Metro released this thing called the Draft Environmental Impact Report, and so that has really gone into all the semantics, and a lot of people were waiting to come up with their official opinion on the different alternatives for this project based off this report that was just released. So we're going to dig into that. But before we do that, we're going to first kind of just give a brief general overview as to what the STC is. We have a lovely guest speaker, which I will introduce soon. Um, and then we'll dig into the different alternatives for that project. And then we'll end with how you guys can get involved. So with that, I'll kind of give a little bit of context. We are operating under LA Ford Institute. So LA Ford has a C3 and a C4, but we are operating under the C3, meaning that we are nonpartisan. We are focusing on educational purposes only. And in general, LA Ford and our transit justice team has been pushing for equitable, clean, and people first mobility. We are community based and we do care what you think, and we are very much so powered by people. But without further ado, I would love to introduce you guys to Steven Sand. He is the chair of Westwood Community Council, and he is part of STC for All, which is a group that we have been doing great work with. They have been doing amazing work on the STC. We're actually part of their coalition, and we actually signed up a letter that should be on their website, which is super awesome. But yeah, without further ado, I will introduce you guys to Stefan or Steven, and I will also pin you. If that's okay.
Hannah, thank you so very much. Steve Sand here, chair of the Westwood Community Council. I want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity to address such an important group and a valued member of our STC for All coalition. I'm doing this on my iPhone, so please forgive me, my camera's not on, but you get to see a static picture. I assure you, I'm a real person. This is not an AI voice. This is not Chat GPT. So I'm speaking to you in real time. So I appreciate your understanding on that. But I want to thank you. And Hannah, you sent me some really good bullet points. I'm going to try to hit all these points, but if there's anything that you feel I've not covered for your group, please feel free to jump in. As has been mentioned, the Sepulveda Transit Corridor Project, or STCP as it's known, this has been, friends, honestly on the books for more than half a century. In one iteration or another, Metro and its predecessor organizations have talked about, have toyed with, have promised some sort of transit project linking the San Fernando Valley with the West Side and eventually LAX. We've been waiting for this literally for more than 50 years. And we're at a key point, as was mentioned. The Metro board, the Metro staff actually recently released something that some of you may know this terminology, and I'll try to decipher all this gobbledygook ABCs, but something known as the DEIR, that stands for the Draft Environmental Impact Report. That's a required element under something known as CEQA, CEQA, which many of you may know is the California Environmental Quality Act. The draft EIR, we've been waiting for this literally for a number of years because this DEIR is the result of years and years of expert analysis of this project. So before I go any further, if possible, Hannah, I would love to queue up. I have two videos I want to share with you. The first one gives a good overall kind of look into the project. So if it's possible, if we can queue up that first video, I want to start with that and then we'll get into it further.
Yep, I'll bring that right up. Can everyone see this?
LA Metro is planning a new rail line for Los Angeles. It's called the Sepulveda Transit Corridor, or STC for short. It will connect the San Fernando Valley to the west side of Los Angeles. The STC will fill a gap in the region's transit network by providing an alternative to the 405, one of the most congested freeways in the nation.
I would use the Sepulveda Transit Corridor to go back home and see my family who all lives in the valley. With the Sepulveda Transit Corridor, it would take about less than 15 minutes to get home.
For my daily commute, I live in the San Fernando Valley in the city of Chatsworth. Typically, my commute could be anywhere from 1 hour to an hour and 30, depending on traffic and also the time of the year.
4 of the 5 options considered for the STC project include a station on the UCLA campus. It would connect the Purple D Line station in Westwood Village. With a growing population of over 85,000 people visiting UCLA each day, including students, employees, medical patients, and those attending sporting and cultural events, an on-campus station isn't just beneficial, it's a necessity for our future.
Having this transit line at UCLA wouldn't just save time, but it would honestly change all these patients' lives, but also workers like myself that come from the Valley and spend a lot of time just sitting in traffic. It's more than convenience, it's about access, equity, and supporting the health of our community here at Westwood, but also the San Fernando Valley.
Access to transit is a major source of inequity in Los Angeles, especially for low-income households, seniors, and those with disabilities. By selecting an alternative with the highest projected ridership, LA Metro will not only improve accessibility and equity for all Angelenos, but will also make a significant investment in protecting our environment.
It will also lessen traffic in the Sepulveda Pass, which will have a huge ripple effect across Los Angeles, mitigating pollution, improving commute times for everyone in the city, and really connecting parts of the city that feel completely isolated from each other as it stands.
If built correctly, a Sepulveda Transit Corridor station on the UCLA campus with a direct connection to the Purple D Line in Westwood Village would serve Angelenos by taking them where they need to go.
At 1-800-PACK-RAT,
Oh,
we make...
not
Okay.
that.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to say also, I'm going to give some comments here. And if any of you have questions, please jot them down. Be happy to answer any questions that you have maybe at the end of my presentation, because it may be that I'm going to address them before I'm finished. So, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So that gives you kind of a brief overview of the project. Where we are right now. Well, we're at the end of, I think it's been actually about a decade of study and analysis. Metro looked at so many different options. They whittled it down to 6 alternatives 1 through 6. But interestingly, about a year ago, well, let me back up. Alternatives 1 through 3 are all monorail, and 4, 5, and 6 are heavy rail. Now you're looking at a screen here and you're probably asking, I only see 5 alternatives. That's correct. Because last year, in the midst of this project, the project proponent of the monorail options, BYD, asked Metro to stop and halt any further study of their alternative 2. Now, this is my little editorial comment. I'm not officially, but I think it was so telling that even the proponents of this monorail alternative 2 realized it was so infeasible, it was so poorly suited to meet the needs. They didn't want to waste any more time or money studying alternative 2. We completely agree. Metro went through a process, so they officially dropped alternative 2 at the request of the proponents, BYD. So that now leaves us with 5 alternatives. 1 and 2, which are monorail that would generally follow the 405 freeway. Alternative 1 completely follows the 405 freeway. And noteworthy of alternative 1, of all 5 of these, this alternative completely misses and skips the UCLA campus. Of the 5, it's the only one that literally does not stop at UCLA. Just to tell you, in my opinion, and frankly, the position of STC for All Coalition, that is just an insane idea, because Metro's own studies show, and the data shows, that an on-campus UCLA station, which we know that LA Forward supports, an on-campus UCLA station, it would not only be the busiest station of this Sepulveda line, it would in fact be the single busiest station serving just a single line, not where 2 lines connect, the busiest station in the entire LA County Metro network. So pick any color, red, blue, green, gold, purple, pink. You pick any line, orange, it would be the busiest of any of those single line stations. So in our opinion, the idea that you would even consider spending billions of dollars and not bring transit to the UCLA campus, which is either the 3rd or 4th, I've seen 2 different statistics, it's at least the fourth, and some say it's the third largest employer in the county. It is in fact the largest employer outside of downtown. It's a campus that has a daily population of 90,000 plus. It's basically a small city unto itself. The thought that you would spend billions of dollars on bring transit and skip the campus is a completely insane idea. So alternative one, you can guess that's a no-go for us. We hope it's a no-go for all of you because it would make no sense whatsoever. Alternative two is also a monorail option. It generally follows the 405 alignment, but after much pressure, BYD came up with this alternative that's south of the Getty Center station, which they're proposing. Then this monorail would go into a tunnel through the Santa Monica Mountains under Bel Air, which we know is an issue, get to the campus, have a station at the center of the campus, which is known as Gateway Plaza. If you're familiar with the UCLA campus, it's almost the hole in the middle of the donut. It's almost the exact target center of the campus. It's near the Luskin Conference Center. It's near Poly Pavilion, the James West Alumni Center, Ackerman Student Union, the School of Engineering, and it's just north, less than 2 blocks from the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, which is significant because so many people come to UCLA for life-saving medical treatment or to visit patients, family members, and others who are being treated at the Ronald Reagan Hospital. So they would have this station in the center of the campus. Then it would continue underground and connect with the D line, the purple Wilshire D line subway that is currently under construction. The UCLA Westwood Station is expected to open in the village in 2027. And then it would emerge from this tunnel and then reemerge and connect back with the 405 freeway, terminating at the Expo, adjacent to the Expo line at Sepulveda. And then eventually, phase two of this project would extend the Sepulveda line all the way down to LAX, but that's for a future phase. The last three alternatives, very quickly, 3, 4, 5, and 6, are all heavy rail. The first of those 2, 4, and 5 are proposed by a group, a consortium led by Bechtel, and this is a fully automated train, basically fully automated. It's technology that we don't even have yet in Los Angeles. These are driverless trains, very high capacity, very high speed, very high quality. The difference between 4 and 5, in 4, the stations in the San Fernando Valley are all proposed to be above ground, and then south, once you go south of Ventura Boulevard, the stations on the city side all the way to the Expo line would be underground subterranean stations. That's 4. In 5, all of the stations are subterranean, with the sole exception of the northernmost station, which is the Van Nuys Metrolink station. That's because that is an already existing above ground station. But every other station other than that northernmost station, all would be subterranean underground. That's alternative 5. And finally, alternative 6, that is being developed by Metro staff internally. There is no PPP, public-private partnership on 6, and that is a more conventional train. That is the technology that Metro is currently using on the red and purple lines. Those are driver-driven trains with, somebody driving the train, and that's what Metro is proposing. And the other big difference between alternative 6 and the previous 2 that are also heavy rail, all the first 4 follow either the Sepulveda corridor or the 405, whereas alternative 6 follows a route along Van Nuys Boulevard and then eventually connects down to Expo line, but not at Sepulveda, but further west at Bundy. That's alternative 6. So those are the 6, or the 5 rather, alternatives. Where we are in the process, as was mentioned, the draft EIR has been recently released. That triggers a 90-day comment period. So we have, I believe, until the end of August for all of us, every one of you, for LA Forward, anyone who wants to weigh in on this, to offer a comment. And under California CEQA law, it's very clear. Comments are extremely important. It sounds so casual, but a comment literally becomes a legal record. If you submit either a written comment or at one of the hearings that Metro has, where they will have a formal court reporter transcribing your verbal comments, by law, Metro and their staff must respond to every single comment. So commenting that you like this option or you don't, or you're concerned about headway times, or you're concerned about stations that are going to be proposed to be hovering next to the 405 freeway where people are going to be breathing in toxic fumes, Metro has to respond to every one of your comments. So it's extremely important that if you have an opinion on this, any opinion that you like a particular alternative or you don't want a particular alternative, or you think there's some impact that needs to be highlighted or further addressed, those comments, you please submit them before the end of August deadline, and then they legally must respond to them. It becomes part of the record. Let me stop there and ask if anybody has any questions, because I see there's a few in the chat. Are there any questions, Hannah, that you want me to address, or that any of your listeners want to address at this point?
Yeah, Eric, I know you've been moderating the chat, so if there's any questions that you think are valuable, or if there's any repeats, feel free to unmute and ask them.
Look like anyone has pressing questions yet. So just a reminder to everyone in the call here to feel free to type in your questions, and I'll gather them all up and moderate some Q&A as we go. So you're free to keep going.
Awesome. I think that's it with Steven's section. But first, thank you so much for being here. He is truly an expert. He knows quite a bit. And I think STC for All has been one of the most prominent organizations working on this. So we owe a lot.
Hannah,
go ahead.
just if I could just interject really quick, I want to say two things. First of all, we have a wrap-up video, a very quick one that I want to share as well, which kind of very gets to the point of what you can do to really impact this project. And I do want to say or recommend to all of you, please visit our website. We've worked very hard on it. It's STC, the number 4, all.org. STC4, number 4, all.org. Check out our website, and we would like to ask if you would like to sign on as either a supporter. I mean, LA Forward is already a member of our coalition. We want to thank you. We truly appreciate that. We are over 100 organizations strong, but we are looking for more individual members. And if you sign up, that will put you on a list, and you will be notified of key dates. We're not going to spam you. We're not going to take advantage, but we will very respectfully send you communication when there's key things. And I did mention the deadline for DEIR. I also want to mention on Thursday, June 26th, that's next Thursday, we will be holding a press conference at Metro headquarters downtown. If you know where the MTA headquarters is, not far at Union Station, basically. If any of you would like to attend, that will be at 8:30 in the morning. We would love to get supporters out there for that. Immediately after, Metro Board is meeting, and Stephanie Wiggins, the head of Metro, we understand is going to be reporting on this project. And since it's on the agenda, that means that we, the public, have a right to make public comment to the Metro Board at the beginning of the meeting. So if you can come down to the press conference, we're going to just walk from in front of the Metro area, where the press conference will be held, and then we're going to go into the Metro, chambers. And if any of you would like, you'll get public comment time to chime in and say, I support heavy rail, or I support this, or support that. So we welcome you. That's again next Thursday, June 26th. And with that, I would just like to ask Hannah if we can just queue up the second video. It's a very short one that lets you know what you can specifically do to impact this project.
Yeah, sounds good. We actually do have one question in the chat. Someone was asking if you guys have at STC for All have done any political feasibility assessment on these options. And with that, if there's any that you foresee being the most or least likely to advance.
Well, okay. We as an organization have not. I'm a political scientist. That was my field at UCLA. So I will give you my assessment. I've talked to some other experts and consultants, and this is just my opinion. This is not the official position of STC, but I'm happy to share with you. Metro's analysis is so eye-opening. As I mentioned, alternative one, which skips the campus, it should be no surprise it is the worst performing. It has the lowest ridership. It has the lowest impact of reducing greenhouse gases, affecting climate change, reducing congestion. Alternative one in my opinion, it's basically a joke. And it's interesting that BYD, the proponent, was trying to say, oh, it's so cheap, we can build it so fast. Well, BYD initially was saying that they were going to have these 3 train car trains, right? But to get to the capacity numbers they needed, they actually analyzed and needed to have 4-car trains. Why is that significant? Well, the size of the train station has to be much bigger, longer, if you have to accommodate a 4-car length train. So when they were touting these costs, they were touting out costs for a train station that could never be built because it would have not met the need. So thankfully, Metro fixed these blatant mistakes, and they came up with the real cost of alternative 1 and 2 and 3 with the real proper length. And all of a sudden, this supposed financial benefit and all of a sudden this supposed speed to market benefit that we could get it built so much faster basically evaporated. So alternative 1, I think, is DOA. It should be. It's ridiculous to skip the campus. And it also, by the way, does not connect to the Wilshire Purple Line. And why is that important? Well, having the direct connection, the seamless connection to the Wilshire Purple D Line station in Westwood Village is critical to create that essential north-south, east-west connectivity so that somebody could be traveling from the San Fernando Valley, take the line down to Wilshire Westwood, and then have a seamless connection onto the Purple Line. And then 28 minutes later, you're in downtown Los Angeles. That's transformational. So alternative 1, which doesn't even connect with the Purple Line, again, completely insane and should be DOA. Now, alternative 3, which is the other monorail option, again, BYD was trying to tout that, oh, we're so much cheaper than heavy rail and we can be built so much faster. And again, when Metro did the proper analysis with train stations of the proper length, the financial benefit, alternative 3 actually comes in more expensive than alternative 4, which is a heavy rail option, which has much higher capacity, much better speeds. So this supposed benefit of speed and cost goes into the vapor. So I think alternative 3 is going to be a very tough sell as well. Now alternative 6, I will say, jumping ahead, that's going to be challenging because that does not have a private partner. There's no PPP, public-private partnership. So when it comes to the cost of trying to build alternative 6, Metro has a much bigger portion of the budget that they would need to shoulder, and they don't have a partner in like Bechtel or in BYD to help fund the project. So in my opinion, alternative 6, aside from the fact that the technology is kind of older school technology, it doesn't take advantage of driverless trains, which are very common now in very successful metro systems around the world. I think just the financial challenge of Metro having to come up with many more billions of dollars through federal money or other resources is going to make 6 a very tough sell. So you really come down to 4 and 5. And 4 and 5, I will tell you, 4 has the best cost per rider because it is cheaper to build above ground stations than it is to build subterranean. But now there's a political calculus. Politically, we know that a lot of the elected officials who represent the San Fernando Valley, including many who are on the Metro board who will cast a vote, they're on record as saying that they want parity for the Valley. And I cannot disagree with that. I'm a lifelong resident of Los Angeles, grew up here since my birthdays. And I would say that for many, if you knew the history of the secession movement, which the Valley wanted to literally secede from the city, there was a very strong feeling in the San Fernando Valley and in Valley leaders that the San Fernando Valley was not getting their fair share, that the share of taxes that were being paid and generated in the Valley were not being returned to the Valley proportionally. And in fact, that was true. Studies showed that, for every dollar that the San Fernando Valley generated, maybe they'd get 97 cents worth of benefit, and more money from the Valley was being spent on the city side, and it was not equitable. And some of the transit advocates will point out that whereas the city side, we got an expo line, a light rail line, what did the Valley get? They got an orange rapid bus line. Now, that line, as you may know, is being proposed by Metro to be upgraded to light rail, but for a long time, there was a feeling that the Valley was getting, quote, less than. And people are saying that if the city side is supposed to get subterranean, they want to see the Valley get the same. Politically, I will also just be very candid. The neighbors in Sherman Oaks have been extremely vocal. They're extremely opposed to Alternative 4 because they don't want to see above ground stations in their community. They think the visual impacts would blight their community. And so that's going to be something that, that's a political calculus. Does the Metro Board want to spend the extra billions of dollars to underground all these Valley stations? One, to provide equity for the Valley and to address the visual concerns that people have above ground stations. So in my personal calculus, I think 4 and 5 are going to be the two we hope that will make it out, one of those two. And the good news is that either 4 or 5 meet the STC for all goals of having the on-campus UCLA station and the direct seamless connection to the Wilshire Purple D-Line subway in Westwood Village. So that's my personal analysis, and I hope that's helpful.
No, that was great. What an answer. I'm going to quickly send those 2 videos that I will play across this meeting in the chat. The second video we're going to play when we bring up our own action items. So
Okay.
Stay tuned for that. And just one more big thank you for Steven for, 1, just taking the time to be here, and 2, for all the work that you've been doing. It's very, very clear how knowledgeable you are on this and how much work and time you've spent doing this. So big thank you. We appreciate you here.
We thank you, and I want to tell you, Hannah, I saw your deck. We need to hire you guys. This is so impressive. You guys did a phenomenal job, and to all your members that are cluing in and zooming in, this is one of the best that I've seen. Honestly, I don't know who put this together, but props to all of you who did it. It is first rate, very impressive, and we really appreciate your continued partnership. Please go visit our website, stcforall.org. Please sign up to be a coalition supporter. If you can attend our press conference on Thursday, June 26, 8:30 at the Metro headquarters, we would love to see you there. And please, please be sure to attend one of the Metro meetings, and they're all listed on our website. Either submit a written comment, submit verbal comments, but please do comment and express your opinions. It's extremely important. The Metro Board listens. Believe me, your comments make a difference. And the last thing I want to say in closing, as I mentioned, this has been on the books for 50 years, and it's insane that it's taken us this long. But I want to quote one of our faculty members at the Luskin School of UCLA. You may know his name, Zev Yaroslavsky. He was a longtime member of the city council. He was a longtime member of the county board of supervisors. He wrote an interesting memoir, which I can highly recommend if you're a student of politics in Los Angeles. But he described a similar scenario. 25 or 30 years ago, Metro was making some decisions on what was known as the Green Line. I think that's now called the C Line. That's that crazy transit line in the middle of the 105 freeway. That's the line that was supposed to take us to LAX 30 years ago. And that's the line, if you've ever ridden it, and I bet you none of you have, because almost no one rides it. It's the worst performing line. He calls that the Moses line. Why? Because the line gets you close to the airport. It shows you the airport, but it never takes you there. And instead of getting you to the airport, it diverges south and takes you toward El Segundo. We don't need another Moses line. We need a line that actually takes people where they need to and want to go. And we know that the UCLA campus is one of the major destinations, and we want this line to be successful, and we want it eventually to get all the way to LAX. So your advocacy will be so valuable and so much appreciated if we can convey this to the Metro Board. We have one chance to get this right. Let's get it right.
There we go. Ending with a pep talk. I love it. And speaking of our advocacy, we personally at LA Ford wanted to show you guys our stance as well. We're in favor of alternatives 4, 5, and 6 for the 2 reasons of a heavy rail being better for higher ridership. We'll go into the advantages of these options in the future. Max will share a screen soon, as well as the UCLA stop. That has been what STC for All has been pioneering for a while. Before we get into the different alternatives, which will be kind of a high-level overview of the different benefits and costs of each one, I'm going to send in a live doc link on the chat. So we do care what you think. We care which options you guys prefer. We care about your questions and your concerns. So feel free throughout to put your questions in that document. Feel free to +1 if someone says something that you agree with. Yeah, so that's just kind of a live blog option. But without further ado, we're going to start digging into the different alternatives. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and my friend Max, who has done amazing work, is going to now share his and give a little bit of an introduction to the different alternatives. So go ahead, Max.
Hi, guys. And Stephen, thank you so much for that fantastic presentation. Really appreciate it. So enlightening about this issue. For everyone else, I hope you like graphs because we're about to look at 20 of them. Let's go. Let me share my screen. Can you guys all see this presentation? I believe so. Okay, fantastic. Our city is about to spend $20 billion on a train line. What are the different options? What do they look like? Let's investigate. As you may remember from the previous presentation, we've got 2 monorail options, 2 automated heavy rail options, and 1 driver or operated heavy rail option. We're going to be looking through how these options vary in all of these different ways. Ridership, speed, connectivity. It's going to be so exciting. Let's get into it. The alternatives with the highest ridership are alternatives 4 and 5, the automated heavy rail options. As you can see here, those ones in orange get over 120,000 riders a day. Meanwhile, the monorail options in blue are carrying around 80,000 and 60,000 riders for alternatives 3 and 1, respectively. Heavy rail alternative 6 is somewhere in the middle. What's really important is where those passengers are coming from. As you can see on this graph, which shows which people are coming from what stations, this blue station in the middle, the bright blue, represents all the people who are coming to and from UCLA. And this purple station represents the people who are connecting with the D line in Westwood. These 2 stations are going to be the most important stations on the line. Alternative 1 is missing the UCLA station, and alternative 3, while it has it, doesn't do it as well as the heavy rail alternatives. So it's really important that we stick with these heavy rail alternatives so we can get these stations in. Here you can see that the heavy rail trains are way faster than the monorails. The monorails take over 30 minutes to get from Van Nuys to Sawtell, while the heavy rail options take less than 20 minutes. That makes a huge difference for people who are riding these things twice a day. All of these options have pretty good headways, which means how long you have to wait for a train. But during off-peak periods, the trains that require drivers will make you wait for up to 20 minutes. While on the automated heavy rail options, you're waiting for only 6 minutes when you're getting home at night. I don't need to tell you how this is going to affect your experience. It's a huge deal. For connectivity, this monorail goes through the middle of the freeway. As noted with the C line, stations in the middle of the freeway kind of suck and they make you breathe in a bunch of pollution. This should be kept in mind when we are considering which alternatives are the best. We're going to skip climate impacts. This is a list of how much each alternative costs. The straight up cost of alternative 1 looks to be the lowest and alternative 6 appears to be the highest. However, when you consider inputs from P3 partners, federal contributions, and pre-appropriated funds from measures R and M, there's only a couple $2 billion remaining for each option. And as you can see here, alternatives 4 and 3 are actually the cheapest, because alternative 1 is likely to be ineligible for federal grants due to its low value. Alternative 6 is also much more expensive at the end of the day than 4 and 5 because it's missing a P3 partner. Alternative 4 has the best value, then 3, then 5, and then the other 2. Timelines. The timelines all look roughly the same, to be honest, so it doesn't really matter. Even though BYD claimed they could build their monorail faster, the government doesn't think that they actually can. Although one thing I think is important to mention about construction is that if the monorail is built, there's going to be 10+ years of construction in the middle of the 405. I'm sure you can all imagine what that would mean for traffic. Displacements. It's important to mention that some people are going to be displaced by building this project. The monorails actually displace the fewest people, and Alternative 4 displaced the most people. In this chart, you can see that also some businesses are going to be displaced by this. In summary, here are all the factors on a colorful scale so you can understand what is going on. As you can see here, the monorails perform pretty poorly. Alternatives 4 and 5 perform the best, and Alternative 6, while better than the monorails, is not as good as 4 or 5 and is substantially more expensive than both. As Stephen noted, we're probably looking at 4 and 5 here. You have to decide whether you want the cheaper price and you're okay with the displacements and the political cost, or if you want to spend more money in order to get less displacements and avoid political costs in the valley. LA Forward has 3 main recommendations that are pretty close to what STC for All recommends in the context of everything that's been up here. First, we recommend using heavy rail. It's faster, it gets more people, it has better value. Second, we recommend a UCLA stop, which is going to be the most important and most ridden and used non-connection stop in the entire system. And finally, there has to be a good D-line connection, which, if done correctly, using a heavy rail option, is going to be the most used station in the entire metro system in Los Angeles. Given that, LA Forward Institute recommends alternatives 4, 5, and 6. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. That was great. And it's also not an easy feat to be able to summarize all that information, all that data in a way that is tangible, easy to understand, and it's something that we all can kind of grasp. So thank you for also putting all that together. I'm going to go back to this. We also have an extra special, another guest coming to speak. This is Karina. She is a student at UC Berkeley, and she has done some great environmental justice work. And so she was able to break down the environmental side of this. So I'll give you the floor, Karina, if you would like to give us a little rundown on what you did here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. And thank you, Max and Stephen, for such a great overview. As Hannah mentioned, I'll be talking a little bit more about the environmental analysis. So looking at this chart here, from the EPA estimate, the average car emits around 4.6 metric tons of CO2 per year. So assuming that these predicted reductions come from people shifting from car travel to public transit, with this project, we can calculate that each alternative would have a specific number of cars from the road removed. So that CO2 equivalent is equal to that many cars in the right side of the chart. So as you can see, alternatives 1 and 3 have a significantly less impact in terms of greenhouse gases removed from the atmosphere compared to alternatives 4, 5, and 6. This is due just to the higher ridership. These alternatives 4, 5, and 6 predict higher public transit usage just due to better alignment, faster travel times, or more seamless transfers, as Max and Stephen have mentioned. Thus, these alternatives pull people out of cars and maximize reductions further. Additionally, there are some air quality improvements from these alternatives. Lower car traffic means fewer tailpipe emissions, particularly in regards to particulate matter 2.5 and NOx emissions, which disproportionately harm low income and frontline communities. So that's another EJ or environmental justice element related to 4, 5, and 6 specifically. There's energy efficiency points to pay attention to here, with heavy rail being far more energy efficient per passenger mile than monorail, cars, or buses. And additionally, there's a long-term infrastructure lifespan. These investments would reduce the need for any road expansion or maintenance tied to car travel, which is often a hidden environmental and financial cost. And lastly, one important point I wanted to point out was land use synergies. That transit-oriented development, or TOD, is more likely to cluster around high-capacity rail projects like 4 through 6, which would reduce suburban sprawl and encourage walkability around these areas. So To summarize, I just wanted to emphasize that alternative 4, 5, and 6 do not only deliver the strongest greenhouse gas reductions, but they also improve air quality in front community areas. They're predicted to remove over 12,000 plus cars from roads annually. They will each support healthier, more walkable development in these areas. And all three of these, or alternatives 4, 5, and 6, all align with LA's long-term sustainability goals outlined in LA's Green New Deal. But that's a brief environmental overview. Thank you so much for having me speak. It's been a joy presenting and doing this research. So thank you guys.
No, thank you. This type of information is super useful, but at least when we saw it in the DEIR, we were all a little bit spooked by it because it is really hard to kind of conceptualize it. So the way you did this is amazing, and we do really appreciate all that work and you coming on here to speak. That was also so nice and concise. Wow, you did a great job explaining that. Moving on, we've now reached the section of this teach-in when we're kind of going to go into what you can do. So as said before, we are in the midst of a 90-day public comment period. Right now, you can submit written public comment. That is available on the Metro website, but we will be having some in-person public comment that our group will be attending. You can see that in the top left corner of the screen here. For people who might not be able to see that, there's one on Wednesday, August 6th, Thursday, August 7th, Saturday, August 9th, Tuesday, August 12th, and Monday, August 18th. However, the point of this Zoom was merely an introduction to the STC. It is a very, very complex topic. I'm sure you guys are kind of bogged by all the details because I was too, and I still am, especially when you're kind of dissecting the different alternatives and their pros and their cons. So this was our first teach-in on the STC. However, we will be having one to come, and hopefully with that will come more action items. So we'll be galvanizing a group to go in and give public comment. We'll be releasing a toolkit for people to give easy one-click emails, as well as very simple written comments that they can send into Metro. And as Stephen said, it's really, really important to make your voice known on this because Metro is listening, they do care, and they want to hear what you think. And this is a really huge project that affects people on the west side, people in the valley, people all over Los Angeles, and it will be a project that will extend beyond the means that it is now. So with that, I'm actually going to plug in our TJ group. If you guys would like to sign up, that would be absolutely amazing. I highly recommend, that's the STC for all. Max, is there any way you could possibly send in our transportation justice group sign up?
I put it up there, Hannah. It's already in there.
Lovely. Thank you, Godfrey. On top of it, that is also on the slide. In the meantime, feel free to sign up for that group. We meet every Tuesday at 6 p.m. So this is our typical time to meet. If you guys can't make that time, feel free to still sign up on the email chain because I will send in through just signing up on that link. I will include you on the email chain, and I'll plug you guys into the things going on, the different teachings we're going to be having, the information about what we're going to be doing in Metro, any toolkits we put out there. So that would definitely be the link to click if I were to be on the Zoom watching. And with that, I'm going to play STC's video. Here we go.
LA Metro is planning a new rail line called the Sepulveda Transit Corridor, or STC for short, connecting the San Fernando Valley to the west side of Los Angeles. You can help advocate for an on-campus station at UCLA. The STC will support thousands of commuters to UCLA each day and will connect to the Metro Purple D line in Westwood Village when it opens. The STC for All Coalition was formed to ensure that this future rail line meets the needs of all Angelenos. The diverse coalition includes neighborhood councils, community, business, and environmental organizations, academic institutions, and student groups, all united to advocate for equitable and accessible public transit. By joining the coalition, you'll be informed on the STC project and provided opportunities to get involved and influence LA Metro decision makers through letter writing campaigns, attending key meetings, and more. Public transit must be accessible for all Angelenos, especially for those who rely on it most. A UCLA station ensures access for students, employees, and the community at large. Please join us in advocating for a Sepulveda Transit Corridor station at UCLA with a direct connection to the Purple D line in Westwood Village. A connected region is a thriving region, and everyone deserves easy access to what matters most to them. Visit stcforall.org to learn how to get involved and have your voice heard.
Well, every time you think I'd learn. Great. One final slide. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of our speakers, Stephen, Corinna, Max, all the work you guys have done. It's really, really important. And obviously, everyone else who's here, thank you all for coming. This is really, really, it's an incredible project, and it does deserve your voices, and your input is significant to the progress that we will be making on this. So keep up the momentum, sign up for our transportation justice group. And thank you all for being here. I'm gonna stop sharing this.
And before we end the recording or whatnot, I just really want to uplift not only Stephen for joining us, but Hannah, Max, Corinna, and Stefan put in so much work into this, like not just in preparation for this, but in wrapping their heads around, as you saw, so many different facets and details of this project. And if I could uplift, like I'm like twice some of their ages, and I am learning so much from them. And at least two of them will be hopefully making use of this project in their engagement at UCLA in a variety of ways in which they engage on campus. So I know it's not going to be built that fast, but I think this is a really exciting to imagine their campus in a new way and really carry forth the vision of the future there. So just really want to uplift that. Join the Transportation Justice Group in advocating for this project, for the alternatives that we deem best, and help us think through all the implications that we didn't get to unpack on this call. We know there are a lot of open threads. You've got some thoughts on those, on that question document that Hannah put into the chat box. Like those are going to be for future transportation justice calls. So definitely lean into that. Hopefully we'll be seeing some of you on our call in about 5 minutes, where we're going to be featuring two groups that are working on immigrant justice issues right now, Orale and Represent LA. And you'll hear from every single working group that is active at LA Forward Institute, not just the transportation justice one, but climate justice and so many other groups that are active, just like Hannah, Max, Stefan, and Corinna have shown you tonight. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. There we go. Yeah. I was gonna say, I'll see you guys all in the next meeting.
See you in 5 minutes.
Awesome. Have a nice night, everybody.
Thank you.